you aren't hyperfixated to a certain game, show, or movie. Lost media is such a fascinating topic. And Fortnite being one of the biggest games in the world, it's no stranger to having its own library of lost media. With a famous song and dance being an emote lost to history, and a skin of a big Hollywood actor being removed halfway through development, let's take a look at the pieces of lost media within Fortnite that are still a mystery till this day for the third time. History was changed forever when in 2017, Fortnite was officially released. But there are versions of the game before 2017 that are still lost to time. The version that was first released to the public in 2017 is what we know of as today as Fortnite Save the World, a PvE co-op campaign game where the focus was to build a base or fort during the day so that at night you can defend your base from the zombies or fiends within the game. You would find loot and craft weapons in order to level up your heroes. Well, that's what the official Fortnite website says. Fortnite did not become the biggest game in the world because of this mode. While a lot of people love this mode, Battle Royale is the reason why we all have a love-hate relationship with this game. During the development of the original mode, the developers produced many versions in order to test the game while it was being made, and a bunch of these have not been found till this day. Thankfully, the Lost Media Wiki has kept track of all of these versions, which I want to go through a few of the interesting ones. This does include the oldest version we are currently aware of, which is a pre-alpha version of the game from 2011 to 2012. All we have about this version is a main menu that looks like it was whipped up in 5 minutes, and actual 1080p gameplay of this build. The footage shows the game with similar aspects, like the editing system being largely unchanged, some models looking pretty similar to the actual game, but everything else? It looks like a completely different game. It really gives horror survival vibes, which could have been the original theme for the game. While there is footage provided, the actual program to play the game is not publicly available. That is still lost, and only one person we know of still has that, and they just will not give it out. All they did was record footage showing that they do own it, but to everybody else on the internet, we can't access it. The 2013 to 2015 versions of the game were all closed test versions, where you could only play the game through an invite system given through a physical golden ticket. With the screenshots provided, the HUD visually has changed positions, and there's actually no shields. A lot of the models look closer to the final release version, and there's even video footage of that version that looks like it was recorded on the 2002 vintage Super Mario phone.
Who do you want to call?
Burger King.
Till this day, any playable version from that era is lost, and no one we know of has access to them. The last interesting set of versions is the online test versions during the 2014 to 2017 era, where the players would play a very close to release version of the game, but to test the multiplayer side of the game. During this time, there was even a PvP mode being developed and the players could test it out. They had modes like Domination and Capture the Flag, and a mode called Weather the Storm, where the two teams would try to destroy each other's bases. According to the Lost Media Wiki, there are not many images, videos, or files from this version of the game, as there was an NDA that all the players had to sign during the online test, so players avoided taking pictures or photos in order to not get sued. They even tried to contact people who had played during that time, but even they had no access to the files anymore. These online test versions were actually live streamed by Epic Games and are still able to be watched, so footage from Epic directly is pretty easy to find, but the actual game files to play it is still lost. So those versions are considered lost media. Have you ever wanted to play Mario Party inside of Fortnite? There are many creative maps that try to recreate it, but did you know Fortnite was actually developing a way for creators to make their own Mario Party or Monopoly styled games within Fortnite? There were two devices added to the game around 2022 to help with this, which is the dice device and the board game tile device. For the people who don't know what a device is in Fortnite, a device for Fortnite creative maps is basically an object you place in your map that has functionality for a specific action, like the button device allows the player to create interactable objects, and the first-person device, which allows players to go into first-person mode. These are important as it allows people without coding knowledge or who are creating maps on console to easily add unique and customizable features to their map. The dice device and the board game tile device never had any model or way to get them to appear in game, but Epic Games did leave the customizable options within text inside of the game, so we're able to actually piece together what these devices are capable of. The dice device allowed players to roll a dice as well as have many different options for a type of dice to roll. You're also able to customize it by changing the way the dice roll was displayed after you rolled, like how big it should appear, or to even hide the dice whenever you have rolled it, and even able to change the color of each face and text as well as the icon on each of the die. There's also options to change how you want to calculate the results of the dice, most likely to add, multiply, or whatever nerdy things you want to do with these dice. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem you're able to change the amount of faces on the die, so it seems like you're stuck with 6 at the moment, so sorry Dungeons & Dragons players. You can't get your dodecahedron in the game. With the dice, there was a dice manager that allowed you to connect the dice with specific board game tile devices, which, speaking of, the board game tile device, based on functionality, would allow players to create many tiles you would see within a board game and connect them so that players can move from tile to tile in order to progress the board game based on the dice roll. This would be the basis for a Mario Party or Monopoly styled game, as those games involve dice as well as moving tile to tile. You can start the round, end the whole board game, and even prompt the player to roll the dice, with different detections that if the player can move tile from tile, and if they shouldn't be able to leave the current tile. There's also functionality to determine if there's no exits on the path, which makes me think you would also be allowed to have branching paths and not just one linear path, kind of like how Mario Party is. Another function is to determine if the player has enough start points. So that means it would also come with its own currency system, so like coins and stars in Mario Party or just your money within Monopoly. While we know mostly how this device would work, we have no footage or any images of these devices being used within the game, and this is the only information we have about these devices. The only other visuals found was a black tile for the game tile device, and then just an icon of a dice for the dice device. I think this would have been an amazing addition to the game, as it allows players to create maps that stray away from the normal shooting PvP games, and it's just an easier way to make fun maps that you're supposed to play with friends. I guess they didn't want smoke from Fishstick winning the game by doing absolutely nothing. At this point, every famous dance associated to a popular song is in Fortnite. I mean, we just got whatever this emote is. What surprises me is that Single Ladies Put a Ring on It is not an emote or song within the game yet, especially with the music video having over 1 billion views and it being such a famous song and dance. Well, during the Epic Games vs. Apple lawsuit in 2021, Epic Games' financial documents were released, and there was a section talking about the emotes releasing during that year. On the slide, there are images of what emote they are wanting and where they're coming from, like Doja Cat's Say So music video, Gangnam Style, the Jabberwockies for the Jabba Switchway emote, and the guy from the DaBaby Bot music video who does the Go Mufasa emote. But there's also an image of the music video for Single Ladies. Epic Games had clear plans to add this emote within the game, especially since every other image on that screen got added. While it's obvious what the emote would have been based on the music video, the actual dance that Fortnite was going to use has not been uncovered. While it was most likely scrapped for the time being, why would Epic Games even put that on their financial report? I believe they had definitely recorded and worked on the emote, but we have no footage of it. This feels like one of those pieces of lost media that would only be found within Epic Games' own files, and really only a major leak would ever come out if this actually exists. However, this emote could arrive genuinely any day. It seems like we're getting a new icon emote every week, but for the time being, we can only wait for the item shop refresh to see if this emote becomes a reality. With Fortnite Festival being added as an official Fortnite mode in December of 2023, we've been getting jam tracks of popular songs every week. And by popular, I mean songs like The Funny Song, a TikTok classic. These jam tracks are not only used to be able to play them in the lobby and mix and match with different songs, but the main purpose is to play them via a Guitar Hero rock band styled rhythm game within Fortnite Festival. With each of these songs, all the notes you play and where the notes are called charts, where the developers pick where and how many notes should be placed to match the song that you're playing. With them releasing songs every week, there were bound to be a few that were added into the files but never saw the light of day. The main example of this is Paso Bem Solto by Atlas, a funk song that was announced to be added alongside Slay by Internalix. But other social media channels by Fortnite showed that only Slay was going to be released, and not Paso Bem Solto. When the release date came by, Paso Bem Solto was not added. While we know what the song sounds like, what about the chart? The actual gameplay associated to the song was obviously developed if they were planning to add it, but till this day we have no clue how the song would have been played and charted within Fortnite Festival. While Paso Bem Solto was super close to release, there is a set of songs that are mentioned within the game's files, but never got added. However, there is nothing associated gameplay-wise to Fortnite Festival that confirmed they were actually going to be added, except for Hypnotized by Biggie. When 3 Biggie songs, Big Papa, Juicy, and Notorious Thugs, all got added to the game, there were Spotlight quests added that gave extra XP if you beat these songs. Within the game files for these Spotlight quests, there was actually 4 Spotlight quests and not 3, and that extra 4th one had no title associated, just a bunch of question marks. Based on the context of Hypnotized by Biggie being in that giant list of songs in the files, but it never got added to the game, we can assume Hypnotized by Biggie was the 4th song in that Spotlight quest that was going to be added, which leads me to believe there was most likely a gameplay chart associated with it that we have no clue what it would look like, which is now lost. I still can't believe I'm a Cat has fallen to the same fate as all these other songs. Back in 2021, there was an emote based on a classic movie that was supposed to be added to the game, with even video evidence of it existing. Singing in the Rain is a famous musical comedy movie from 1952, and it is cited as one of the greatest musical films of all time, and even cited as the greatest film of all time. Whatever floats your boat. And with that, the Singing in the Rain dance was actually going to be added as an emote within Fortnite. The only evidence we have this being a reality is this video that has a dancer in a motion capture suit, and a monitor with the real-time movement being transferred to the virtual world. The character that they are applying the movement to resembles very closely to a Fortnite default model, and based on the information given, this was meant for a Fortnite emote. Since the dance uses an umbrella, it would have been really cool if this emote was added, and if you had an umbrella equipped as your glider, it would use that instead of the default one. The video is really the only information we are ever given about this emote, and it's been so many years since then, and we still don't have animations or anything in-game about this emote. But they could very well exist, as I don't think Epic Games would record or make an emote if they didn't get the rights for it. Unless this is just a fun test they decided to show off the emote making capabilities. However, I could definitely see this emote released someday in the future. It's a pretty iconic dance from an iconic movie, and I think it has some really cool functionality to it. During Chapter 2 of Fortnite, there was a cosmetic type that was added in one single update and it was removed quickly after. That would have actually been a really cool inclusion to the game. The Shout cosmetics were going to be audio taunts in the emote wheel that popped up as an emoticon, but they had audio attached to it. As from the footage that Beast FN Creative shows, it would have actual audio play after you use the Shout emote in the wheel. This looks very work in progress, but the real question is, what audio was actually considered for release? From the video, the audio bites they used was placeholder, like Bow Down to Booga that was audio sourced from the 2019 Fortnite World Cup, as said by Courage JD, and the Get to the Chopper voice clip from the movie Predator, and even the classic Leroy Jenkins. Most of those would have not made it on launch. So what audio bites could have actually been added to the game? While maybe the Booga one would have been added, since it was probably pretty easy to get any rights, it was their own event, there must have been other shouts that Epic Games had considered or were in the process of adding before they decided to scrap it. The Shout cosmetic is a cool idea on paper, but I see why they got rid of it. People wouldn't really use them in the game unless they wanted to troll their friends like they're playing Gmod Prop Hunt. With many famous actors' likeness being used for Fortnite skins, there was one actor that was gonna be added but got removed last minute. The famous actor was Chris Hemsworth, for the character Tyler Rake from the movie Extraction released in 2020. Chris Hemsworth has played characters that got added to Fortnite, like Thor, but they never used his actual likeness. So this would have actually been the first time. The main evidence behind this being a reality is that inside of one of the decrypted files that was meant for Dude, who has the likeness of Ryan Reynolds, a beheaded version of Tyler Rake was also found. Everything on that model matches that of Tyler Rake's, but his head was nowhere to be found. We have yet to find the head associated to this character, which would have had the likeness of Chris Hemsworth. There's actually a good chance that they never made the head, that they might have thought about waiting until they had permission in order to model his face. But I don't know why they would have even planned to add him if they weren't able to get the likeness. What's the point of making a character that looks like him if you can't make it look like him. Not only did Donald Mustard show great interest to adding him to the game, but they even planned Tyler Rake to be a part of the Chapter 2 Season 5 Hunter season, which had a lot of potential collabs like Samus. While I don't think we'll see this skin ever appear, as no one even remembers the movie Extraction, Chris Hemsworth's head is somewhere out there, and we gotta find it. During Chapter 4 Season 4 of Fortnite Battle Royale, the My Hero Academia skins were added along with new additions to the Battle Royale mode. The main addition to the game were 2 new mythics, Deku's Smash and Todoroki's Ice Wall. However, there were 2 more My Hero Academia mythics that were going to be added but never saw the light of day. One of the item files found under the same codename was Zero Gravity, which would be the mythic associated with Ochako Uraraka, and another mythic would be a glove associated with Katsuke Bakugo. Based on the anime, the Zero Gravity most likely would allow for any prop you chose to float up in the air, or it would be telekinesis that you could pick up and throw the items, while the glove mythic would be more like a rocket launcher attack. These 2 mythics got far along in development in order to be added to the game files, but we have no idea what they would have looked like if the player had access to them. So we don't know what the model looks like or what it looks like if you actually had it equipped. I could understand why the Zero Gravity never got added. It's probably too complicated and it might have been on a time frame, but I feel like the glove would have been pretty easy to add. Based on the comments about this not happening, I think I know My Hero Academia fans are not very happy. Let me know in the comments if there's any lost pieces of Fortnite history I may not have talked about. Leave a like, subscribe, use my code OshaBruh in the item shop if you're pretty cool, and check out the last videos I made about lost media within Fortnite.